One accord. Good morning. Good morning. This is Mary May, your leadership strategist and disruptor, bringing you a leadership nugget today and conversation, hopefully with some tools that will help you see how you are building your team, what voices are on your team that maybe you are silencing directly, indirectly, intentionally, unintentionally. However, we want to make sure that you have the tools to understand what's going to be the most successful thing to help support you as you recognize psychologically unsafe situations or psychologically unsafe workplaces. So it's Transformation Tuesday, and on Transformation Tuesday, we talk about leveling up our learning, leveling up how we go from being or feeling that we are living in a stuck position, trying to get to that next level, being from being invisible to seen, to getting promoted, to having that decision time, and not being a hidden figure in your workplace. So providing you with strategy, decision-making skills, those nuggets, those little 2 millimeter shifts that's going to help guide and support you in getting what that promotion is that's going to work for you. So in today's conversation, we are specifically talking about psychologically unsafe leadership. And like, what does that look like in real time? And where does it come from? But what does it look like? And how can you shift the narrative to create those safe environments, those productive environments, not only for you as the leader, but for all of those individuals for whom it is that you oversee projects on a day-to-day basis. And so I do welcome engagement in these conversations live or on the replay. I thank you for taking your time out of your day to find out what it is that I am over here dropping seeds and helping you kind of develop who you are and how you stand in your leadership, but then also hopefully that you will have a breakthrough or understand how it is that you position yourself, the things that you say and or do that can have an impact not only for you and your development growing forward, but then also your impact and development and how it is that you function successfully moving forward, because you can stay stuck, you can stay in the complaining situation. However, if you are not intentioned correctly, then you have to kind of reframe your narrative. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. So when you are in the leadership landscape, you should be waking up with excitement and intention every single day, ready to pull back that curtain and just know that wherever you put your paintbrush, wherever you create your ideas, that you are going to be magnificent, you are going to be seen, you are going to be heard, and you are going to be able to execute whatever that next level idea is succinctly and specifically, not only for your growth, but for the growth of the overall mission. But the challenge is, how do we build those psychologically safe environments and relationships in the workplace so that everybody with their special sauce, their special footprint can feel that equal safety? So I have 3 examples when you think about leadership and when you think about how you may be dancing in between, where do you stand as a leader in your space? I got 3 quick little scenario vignettes to share to kind of set the framework for this conversation so that you can identify with where it is that you sit. So this information is coming from a TED Talk that kind of formed the basis of me getting grounded and understanding the psychological safety. So these scenarios came from that. So a nurse notices the script is too high. She's a nurse. She wants to call the doctor to confirm that it's correct, but she recalls that the last time that she called this person, this doctor, the ridicule that she received, and she attempted to confirm what to do, what about this prescription, kind of questioning the decision that was made. She proceeds to not make that phone call because of recalling how it made her feel the last time, and she just went ahead with what it was. That's scenario one. Scenario two is a young pilot who is in a training moment but realizes that his leader's judgment is a little bit off and it may not be the best in the best thing to do in that moment, best idea to kind of follow and execute. However, there's a moment of silence and he goes along with what it is without correcting, without questioning, without any interference, although in his insight or her insight, able to see that there's some judgment questionnaire. The third scenario. The third scenario is a senior leader is invited to join an executive team. And in joining that executive team, it feels like they're an outsider in this conversation and in this space because they don't necessarily agree with the plan, with the direction of what people are doing. And he's the only person, him or her, they are the only person in that conversation, in that C-suite executive that does not agree with the decision that is being made. However, because they're the new person on the block, because you're trying to make sure that you are being successful in this space, you choose to function in silence and keep your thoughts to yourself. That apprehension, that decision, that idea that your voice may or may not matter is existing in all of these scenarios. And in them being in existence in all of these different scenarios, where is it that they have created the space that being psychologically safe or taking that risk in their relationships is not working to their advantage, or is not something that is a safe risk for them to engage in this particular moment or in this particular conversation? Now, when you're in leadership, you are a high performer. You're constantly strategizing, moving things around, having an experience where you are looking to be successful. However, you may be creating an environment where people are overworked and they're neglecting like their well-being, their ability to kind of just feel like, okay, let me ask this question and feel confident that what I'm asking, what I am inquiring about is appropriate and in alignment with my success here, as opposed to questioning what's going to be the consequence, what's going to be the risk in regards to how it is that I bring said ideas, said decisions, said thought outside of the box into the conversation, because I'm not challenging what is being said. However, I'm interrogating. I want to peel back those layers and understand, is this the best? Did you consider everything? Can we talk about this moment to create a learning opportunity for us all? When you are thinking about a psychologically safe situation, it is the belief that one will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes that the team is taking, and they're not going to have that interpersonal risk. That's what psychological safety is. So, can I trust that my voice that has been silenced for whatever reasons, that has possibly been ignored, has possibly been restated with somebody else saying it maybe with 2 or 3 words differently than what it is that I've said, and them being accepted? However, I was overlooked for saying the same exact thing. Do I have the confidence? Is it safe for me to take that risk in this conversation with you as my leader from the learning moment that should occur? Can I ask you a very simple question? Every time a leader withholds an idea, a thought, etc., you end up robbing the team and yourself as the leader of how it is that you can innovate, how it is that you can manage the impression of thinking outside the box. However, you're managing the impression of avoidance because you don't want to be perceived, understood, or seen as somebody who is undesirable, something that that feels uncomfortable, and that you constantly putting yourself and feeling that invisible mindset. So when you have that level of uncertainty as the leader and or as a team member, you end up challenging your level of confidence in the space that you are currently functioning in, as in your space, in your leadership, and what it is that you are expected, designed, hired, you are able to execute it. But there's some experience. Like, think about the nurse scenario. In the nurse scenario, she had felt confident at one point. She had felt where she can come and bring this new idea or as new consideration or something to this doctor about whatever in the care of the patient overall. However, the response she received from the doctor, who in that position, I guess, is the leader in the conversation, it wasn't received well. It wasn't received with the integrity of how it is that this individual can benefit from just thinking of something, of how we can navigate this prescription, this medication regimen a little bit differently. But because of the reaction she received the last time, she opted to not call at all and just go along with the flow. Who is at harm in that situation? All three people are at harm. The doctor is at harm because they're not available and open for that learning opportunity. The nurse is at harm because there's probably a level of anxiety. There's probably a level of uncertainty. There's probably a level of doubt in a space that she is phenomenally that registered nurse, that registered, professional that knows what it is that's going to be an integral move to have the well-being of the patient that they're serving overall. That outcome becomes jaded and shaded because of the unsafety and the imbalance of having that learning moment that's going to help us make that 2mm shift towards our success. Where is this suppression management learned from? This suppression management is learned from us in grade school and from our the core of where it is that we began to learn how it is that we interrogate, how we introduce new situations and ideas, and the risk that we often take in our younger version of ourselves. The risk that we take don't come with so many bumpers and boundaries and second thoughts. We just kind of jump into those situations. However, over time, say you're in a room where learning is actually happening and you have a thought. You have a thought that you would like to know, kind of what else could we do? Or could we consider this? But you look around the room and nobody else is raising their hand. So you assume that maybe you missed it in the reading, you missed it in the cues or the content that they said, that you assume that maybe you're supposed to already know the information versus asking those risk-taking type questions. And if you don't ask it, you say, okay, I'll figure it out later. You miss the content in the present moment. You miss that connection of the learning moment versus wondering how things can be executed. You miss out. So the 4 zones of making sure that you have the right balance in creating psychological safety, interactions, engagement, conversation, and trust is that you have those learning moments. You build comfort and confidence with individuals being able to come to you as a leader, or you having your voice and saying, my voice needs to not be invisible. It needs to be heard. Let's have a different conversation. Apathy is a part of that, but that's the sadness part of it. That's the sadness part, that if you don't have the learning opportunity, that you are not really given space and breathing room for your leadership, for your team, for anybody to kind of step into how it is that we can create these psychological safe environments, but then trusting that we can take that interpersonal risk in building our team. And then, of course, it comes with the overthinking, underthinking, indecisiveness that anxiety can bring to any of these situations, that makes it, again, very, very challenging when you don't have the balance. When you don't have the balance of your integrity, your ability to kind of ask those risk-taking situations. Because when you ask those risk-taking situations, you raise your hand in a room that nobody else is raising their hand, They always say somebody else probably wanted to ask that same exact question, but you were the brave one that kind of stepped into it. But doing that, you end up changing the nature and the quality of your conversation with your team. By giving that breathing room and giving that space, you change the nature and the quality of the conversation, because your outcomes by doing that is going to change exponentially. Because once a team member is received, they're no longer feeling like a hidden figure and invisible. That will unlock the ability to trust the environment and know that the response is going to be received with respect, and that they are going to be able to be received and be able to give you and offer you what their intellectual property, what their intellectual feedback was, that's going to help them have a learning opportunity. So when you give those learning situations breathing room to exist in a space that has not existed before, you give that breathing room. That not it's not an execution problem, because in most times, if you were a leader that has like that boss mindset and someone is not getting the job done, you're like, okay, well, they're just not doing it. I need them to do it exactly this way. If you give breathing room not only for yourself to have a different way to learn how this problem can be addressed and attacked, then you begin to recognize that the uncertainty is a learning moment. It's an opportunity to create that comfort that's going to decrease the anxiety and decrease the apathy, such that you can disrupt what has not been working between you and this team, you and this individual over a period of time. So then what you saw as execution issues ends up being a learning moment between all parties involved about the strategy and about the approach and about the skill set on how we are taking personal and honest inventory, that we all grow into understanding this situation a little bit differently. So in understanding what is psychological safety and how it is that we can navigate with learning beyond the suppression management that we have been conditioned to believe, we end up clearing the blocks of innovation, building collaboration, and understanding that the risk that we take is like the key factor in the overall team's success. And it helps you nurture and develop an effective and healthy team. Because when the team believes that it's safe enough and respected enough and okay to speak up and share ideas, everybody grows. Everybody can build. Everybody can feel that we can talk through, we can have like a parking lot conversation when it's challenging, when it's indifferent, when we don't agree. We can develop and nurture that fearless organization of leadership that gives us those 4 zones of learning. Those 4 zones of learning that's going to give us that optimal outcome of building a psychologically safe versus unsafe leadership. We're gonna have the learning moments where you're open and approachable for new ideas. You're not ridiculing your individuals like in the 3 case, vignettes where the nurse was like, okay, nope, the last time I called him, he was very rude, disrespectful. I'm not putting myself through that again because that disrupted my day. The pilot, understanding that there's a different way in which he could guide his leader, but he's like, okay, well, he's the leader, probably making a comment like they get paid the big bucks. What was my 2 cents going to do? Your 2 cents can be the game changer that's going to make and inform how life can be done more effectively and different. And then or the last scenario where it was the person in senior management new into the room and not really trying to shake the boat. However, when you don't bring what it is that you are shaking the boat with or having a moment with, then you also may not be helping the leader to learn what they may not have considered. Because in being that leader who is approachable to receive that feedback, and you recognizing that the execution is only blocked by your ability to give breathing room to a new scenario, you can make the space safer by understanding that you may miss something. And by giving the opportunity for other people to open up the conversation, share ideas, do something different, you begin to understand that when you model curiosity, when you model the integrity of and openness of asking those additional questions, you end up having a reciprocation, a wonderful dialogue that's intellectual, but is actually pushing the needle forward of whatever the objectives and the missions are for not only you, not only the project, but anything that you guys move forward. Remember, when you change the nature and the quality of your conversation with your team, your outcomes build and grow and improve exponentially. So I hope that this learning nugget helps you as you embrace yet another new school of thought, yet another new idea that's kind of surfacing out here in the world. Of leadership and being a successful leader, recognizing how you can move beyond the roadblocks and the barriers. But as you are working in that space, you never know what you may come and encounter with that's kind of holding you in a holding pattern. So if you find that there's a holding pattern of learning or challenges in execution or something in that suppression management lifestyle that you need to reframe, then I would encourage you to, kind of just figure out what kind of grounding would benefit you, what kind of strategy support would benefit you. And if you are constantly coming to where you have blind spots, I would encourage you to get yourself grounded, try to figure out how you can get focused, and maybe just have a strategy call. Doesn't have to be anything beyond that strategy call, but that strategy call will definitely open up a blueprint for you to identify, okay, where are the missing links? What are the repetitive themes? And do I give myself that opportunity to take those risks safely and confidently, able to move forward, understanding what it is that is needed? And so if you are, you can feel free to schedule that grounding session that will kind of just get you, shift that energy, shift that narrative, understand your confidence, and moving from being invisible to visible on a day-to-day basis. So this is the leadership nugget for today. As your leadership strategist and disruptor, I hope that I have deposited some tools and skills for you to help plan and position how it is that you can navigate towards your next level of success. And I thank you for joining me for another Tuesday Leadership Nugget. And I look forward to talking with you soon. In the meanwhile, you take care, you stay well. Thank you for coming by on live. Thank you for, if you caught the replay, if you did the replay, do hashtag replay, and whatever nugget like stood out to you. And I will definitely be back around to share some love, share some insight, and look forward to serving you on the other side. So in the meanwhile, you take care and stay safe. Have a great